Hello, everyone. A global namaste to you all. Welcome to the Yogue Body and Mind podcast. Have you ever wondered about yoga and didn't know where to begin? Join me in my journey to discover this ancient enigmatic practice. My name is Sneha, and with me today is our wonderful wellness expert, Shubha. Welcome to the first episode where we discover more about the origins of yoga and its evolutionary journey towards becoming what it is today. Some of the things we spoke about include the history of yoga, the branches of yoga, and some other really illuminating concepts, which, to be honest, were a bit difficult to follow in the beginning, but made sense as it all came together. Watch the episode right through to the end so you too can view yoga in a whole other light. So, since our last conversation, I've been thinking about yoga and I was wondering where it all started or what has its journey been. You know, it's quite an ancient science, so I'm pretty sure there's quite a journey. Yeah, so let's talk about that today.
Hello, Sneha. Yeah, thank you for the feedback. I think I'm sure you enjoyed it because that is how it does. That is what it does to you. You know, it creates curiosity. And as far as
Yes.
journey is concerned, yes, that's the most interesting part most of the time because, like any other journey, like last time I was talking about my small journey to yoga. So and how
Mhm.
the evolution happened in my personal life, you know. So in the same way, I think yoga also has a personal evolution. It has evolved
Mhm.
over the years, over the centuries. um, but it is important to understand that as it was evolving, okay, there are few branches which had come out of it, you know, as it was evolving.
Okay.
So I'll just start by naming actually the branches so that it becomes easier when I explain to you the journey. It'll become easier for
Okay.
you and of course
Mhm.
whoever is listening to you to it
Mhm.
to kind of, you know, connect the two. So the branches of yoga are basically jnana yoga. Jnana is what how you pronounce it, but sometimes it's difficult, which is knowledge. Okay. The second one, I mean,
Okay.
it is not necessarily alphabetic or any, just basically just
Mhm.
randomly I'm saying it. But
Mhm.
I will explain to you chronologically as it is, like, you know, whenever
Mhm.
it has some reference to that history. So, Jnana Yoga is one. The right way to pronounce is Jnana. Okay. But I will say
Yana.
Jnana so it becomes easier for everyone to kind of search for
Okay.
it.
Okay.
That is the first one. The second one is Karma Yoga. Okay. Then
Karma
tan-
yoga.
Karma Yoga. Okay.
Yeah.
Third one is Tantra Yoga. Okay. Tantra Yoga is not spoken about a lot because it was kind of slightly defamed over the last few centuries. You know, it was just because the way people have misinterpreted it. And so Tantra Yoga sometimes is not mentioned in most of the, whenever you talk about branches, but it is an extremely important branch of yoga. Then is Hatha Yoga, okay, that is the
Okay.
fourth one. And then comes Bhakti Yoga, okay,
Okay.
Bhakti Yoga. And to top it all, okay, this is the most important one is Raja Yoga. Okay, these are the
Okay.
few the branches we can talk about more, but the main actually major branches of yoga are these.
So when you say branches, what does that mean? What do you mean by branches? Are they is it like different schools of thought, or is it, you know, like the creation of different people? What do you mean by branches?
When you say branches of yoga, it is
Yeah.
basically the concept is the same. It is just
Okay.
that the way it has been explained, understood, or
Mm.
perceived, okay, and also dealing with different aspects of yoga. Okay?
So you mean to say that it's almost I don't know. I just want to tell you what I've understood. Just let me know if I'm right. Okay. So they have created yoga. So yoga is like a umbrella term, but there are different ways of practicing yoga. Is that what you mean?
There are
Or
different
different
the different
in the
ways
sense?
are there. However, there
Okay.
are different aspects of yoga which
Okay.
which are there, which I will explain because it is to do with
Okay.
the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. The different aspects of yoga are there. It's not just the different ways of practicing, it is different aspects of a human consciousness. Okay, how do we approach, how do we reach our final destination? So different aspects are there. So those aspects were dealt with in different centuries, sometimes overlapping each other. Okay, sometimes completely as curiosity came in. So how do we explain this? How do we make others understand this? So that those aspects were explained in different ways. Those are the branches of yoga, how it was perceived, how it could how it was explained, and how it was written down or documented. So these are the different aspects that have been explained over the last, maybe, to be very frank, 3,000 years more, because it's only been 3,000 years since we have valid proof of the existence of yoga. So it is so different branches of yoga are explained in different centuries, you can say, in different centuries. And at the end of the day, like, all that has been put together, okay, towards the in Yoga Sutra. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. So it's like almost like how we evolve through generations, because not all generations have the same, let's say, personality types or mindset. So yoga has also been adapted to different generations. Is that
Yes, different
how it
cultures,
is?
different culture also. There's been a cultural
Okay.
evolution also. So according to the
Mm,
culture and the curiosity, it changes.
mm,
So it has been, and also literacy, like, even literature was. There's an evolution in literature as well. There's an evolution in music. There's an evolution in art forms. So all that has been, represented in different ways. So yoga also has evolved during those stages. That is why the branches are different from the types of, as you said, school of yoga. School of yoga is different, which we will touch upon maybe in other podcasts, because this itself is like huge. You want to know the journey of yoga. That itself is like uh, a big story. So let us just focus on that, so that we can kind of explain the schools maybe on a later episode. Let me start by making you understand where it all began, as your initial question was, yeah, where it all began. Okay, so that when I explain that to you, you will relate it to the branches of yoga. Okay, so let's start with that. Now, there is no documented proof that yoga has always existed. There's no document. There are different stories that has come through narratives, stories, and something which has been handed over by our ancestors. The first documented, okay, the first documented proof of yoga was found in the Indus civilization. If you've heard about the Indus Valley civilization, there was a civilization around 5,000 years BC. There was there's a civilization called Indus Valley civilization. In that civilization, okay, this is archaeologically. and historically proven, documented. So that is how we even know that something like that exists.
And where is this Indus Valley civilization located? Just
So
for some
this
of
is
our
on the
listeners.
northwestern side of India, of the Indian subcontinent. Okay, that is the area where it started.
Hmm. So current day, Pakistan, India, Afghanistan. Okay. Hmm.
North Punjab, okay, even
Hmm.
Punjab side, all those kind of Gujarat, northwestern
Hmm.
Gujarat. So these are the areas as in the present times. The first proof of the fact that yoga existed was certain small miniatures that they found, miniatures of yoga asanas. That is the first proof that, there's something called yoga asanas, okay, exercise. The body in different poses was found, small little miniatures.
Okay.
And also there were like these little slabs which were found with um, carvings,
Writing.
carvings,
Okay.
no writing, carvings.
Just
Okay,
carvings.
writing hadn't
Okay.
started at that time. Carvings
Okay.
of yoga postures. So those are the initial and first understanding that there's something like yoga existed even at that time. This is documented. We're not talking about the mythology. We're not talking about narratives and stories. So if we go by that, it existed. I mean, it always existed. Yoga is something they say always existed. But for us as the modern 21st century people, okay, where documentation, where archaeology is very important, that is our first understanding. Okay, this is something which has existed. There's proof of it. Okay? That is where, but and when you understand that you understand that Indus Valley civilization was a non-violent civilization. There is no proof of violence, however. So the first concept, the first uh, rule, you can say, or the first importance of yoga is non-violence. That is one of the first thing that has been related to yoga, non-violence. The second thing was the complete focus on human hygiene and cleanliness. These are the two aspects which was related to yoga, which are the first two. I told you last time about the 8 limbs of yoga. This was the first 2 limbs of yoga.
So non-violence.
Non-violence, which is the how the mind works, okay, the moral codes of the mind. And the second was discipline, discipline of the human body. Okay, these are the two things which are basic concept of the Yoga Sutras.
And I think the ancient Indians truly lived by that because I think India is one of the only countries, I mean, at least ancient India, that hasn't invaded any part of the
I
world.
think genetically it has been transferred. Okay, it's something which has started 6,000 years ago. Genetically, it has gone into our systems, and our civilization, the Indian civilization is based on that non-violence. That is the reason, even till today, we feel it difficult to, understand violence. It is very difficult. We do not begin violence, which is what in today's civilization that has been handed over to us, which started 6,000 years ago. Yeah. So now, from there, the next level where we understand, okay, how do we relate? How do we understand yoga existed? Is around 3,000 BC, where the Sankhya philosophy. Now,
What does
Sankhya
that mean?
Sankhya means the literal meaning of Sankhya is accuracy, or it could also be numbers. Numbers. A Sankhya philosophy was developed. Now, the Sankhya philosophy believed in uh, the duality. It didn't believe in non-duality, it believed in duality. So one was it related to the elements of nature. So the philosophy at that time was that uh, the human consciousness, okay, is related to the elements of nature. So that was Sankhya philosophy. So that was again one of the main important aspects of understanding what yoga was. So that after that is when the Rig Veda, the Vedas, okay, were written.
The first question I wanted to ask is when you say duality, what duality in what? What was yoga referring to?
Duality is that there is one, the feminine quality, which is called
Okay.
Prakriti, okay, and there is one which is Purusha, which is the masculine quality. Now, the masculine quality is limited. Okay, there is a boundary that is there, whereas Prakriti, which is limitless. Okay, so that is the conscious entity, which is the masculine Purusha, and the limitless, which is Prakriti, which is feminine. Now, Sankhya philosophy, sorry, believed in that. Even the Harappan culture, that is the Indus Valley civilization culture, believed in that. So that
I think also the Chinese have a similar concept, yeah? Yin and yang.
yes, that is there in India. You know the same concept. Uh,
But I think that is good versus evil, I'm not sure.
no, no, no. I don't think so. I don't think so. It's also masculine and feminine.
Masculine and feminine.
Masculine and
Okay.
feminine. It is just that it shows that the Indus Valley civilization was matriarchal because of that. Okay, because the feminine
I
energy.
think people will be surprised to know, that in India, although we don't speak about it openly, or I think the practice is almost dying out, but we have a lot of um, cultures within India, a lot of communities which are actually originally matriarchal.
Yes, and it comes from that because see uh, uh, when the Indus Valley civilization had died off, because of earthquakes and generally it kind of was erased, and so people who lived there slowly shifted towards Uttarakhand, now Uttarakhand. So there's River Saraswati. There was River Saraswati which flowed in upper North India. So they were actually in and around that area. Now, when River Saraswati dried up completely, they shifted to different places. They went to West Bengal. They came down to the south. That is why if you see, like the Konkan belt still has got the Vedic philosophy very strongly followed. We come to Tamil Nadu, okay, where the Sankhya Yoga is really practiced because that is where the energy, the word prana, okay, is used more often in the Tamil literature than in any other way, in any other place.
And Tamil is also a really ancient language, isn't it? Just like Sanskrit. Tamil is one of the two oldest languages in the world are Sanskrit and Tamil, I
Yes,
believe.
because Sanskrit originated in upper North India, and it traveled when the river Saraswati dried up. The people who lived there started traveling to other parts of the country. They went to Bengal, West Bengal, they went to south of India. So, and West Bengal had their own language, south of India had their own language. However, when they came down and both the cultures met, okay, language also got mixed up. Okay? That is how we say. So, though Tamil literature is a very strong literature, okay, yet the Vedic philosophy is also followed there. So that means they've adopted the Vedic philosophy as well. There is a clear amalgamation of the Tamil literature, the Sanskrit literature, the Vedic philosophy, and the indigenous whatever culture was followed in those particular areas. So that is how it was. Now, when you talk about the Vedas, okay, so in the Vedas,
So, what are the Vedas?
now Vedas are scriptures. Okay, that is what I'm trying to explain right now. Is that after Sankhya Yoga, and after the Indus Valley civilization and the Sankhya Yoga, the concept was there. Okay, the concept that yogis had meditated upon, and had the wisdom to understand. Now this has to be conveyed. Okay, this has to be conveyed to the people. This has to be imparted to the people. Now everyone is not a yogi. Everyone cannot sit and meditate for years and years and experience that. So the yogis and the sages and the seers had to find a way to impart this to people. That is how the Vedas were written. Okay, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda. Okay, these are all Vedas which were written to explain how to relate to the elements that you see outside. They're saying we have elements inside us. Okay. Now, how do we relate those elements to the outside elements? Now, for that, what are the elements? Do you know what are the elements of nature?
I think it's, let's say, fire, water, uh, earth, wind, and I think the other one is, I think, as far as I know, it's space or ether, but I'm not sure what that means.
Absolutely. You're right. You're right. Okay. Now, so these elements are there. So in Sankhya philosophy, these elements are there inside you. Okay. Now, if it's inside you, now how to explain, how to relate it to the nature? We are saying that we are what we see inside is what we see outside is there inside us. But everyone doesn't have the eyes to go inward and see. So they had to explain how this has to be. You can relate to that, uh, to the elements outside. So fire was easy. Fire was one of the best elements to make people understand the power of energy, power of creation. It can destroy, it can create, it can be seen, it can be felt. So fire ritual started in the Vedic culture. To do the fire rituals, what are the steps that we need to follow? What are the things that we need to do to ensure that there is purity while we do these offerings? So when we light a fire, the first thing we do is, create bricks out of the earth, create bricks, mud, out of mud. That is connection to the earth. Secondly, you have to purify the place that you're going to do the ritual. That is water. Okay, then you ignite.
Wash the area with water, and then you bring in sprinkle. Okay.
Sprinkle.
And then you bring the earth element through the bricks.
Through the bricks. And the third is light the fire. Yes. These three elements are automatically involved in your ritual. So now you can start relating. So now your body is there. Now you can relate what is fire inside you. Okay, what is the water inside you. Now you can see it. You can focus on it. The idea of yoga is to focus on something. That is when you start focusing on what to focus makes or breaks the human mind. So the Vedic priests and seers wanted to ensure that people start following a ritual which will ensure that they start focusing on the right things and they don't focus They don't get distracted by nature. So every morning, so every they had timings for it. Okay, mornings, afternoons, evenings. You can have these rituals done 3 times a day, so that there is focus. People don't get distracted.
So it's almost like a like they understood the shortcomings of the human brain and figure out hacks on how to keep it in check without struggling too much.
Exactly.
They just simplified it.
Yes, because in if you start talking about yogis to sit in meditation, it is not for every human to do that. They had to find hacks to ensure that people can sit and focus. Now, if you give them a fire ritual, you can sit for 2 hours easily because you have something to do. So your hands are involved in it, all your senses are involved in it. The last time, what did I tell you? The senses are our distractions. Our senses can go crazy. Senses can absorb anything and everything that comes around. How do we ensure that the senses are
Occupied.
conserved
Control.
and controlled? The best way is to give what is inside, bring it out, okay, sit in a particular place and do the rituals. So the Vedas are all about what are the rituals to be done, how it has to be done, and how it can benefit you. So all the explanations are given in the Vedas. It's, keep it simple. I don't want to complicate it. We'll talk in length about all this in maybe some other episode. We can take
I
just the
think
Vedas and talk.
okay. I just wanted to elaborate on the word senses, okay? Just for people maybe who can't visualize or understand what you're talking about. Like, have you seen these museums? I forgot what they're called. It's like a museum of illusions or something like that, or you go to an event or a fair or something. They have these images of spiral, kaleidoscopic images, So when we look at it, it looks like it's moving, but it's a 2D image. It's not really moving, but our senses perceive it as if it's moving. So I just wanted to just include an example. If people are struggling to understand what it means, because of course we are all engineered to believe our senses. We believe our senses or whatever feedback they're giving us to be a fact. But I think that is not really true. You can't really rely on your senses 100% sometimes.
So in the last podcast, when I was talking about the senses, I explained to you how the senses work. It is not something that you can control very easily. If we could have control, then I don't think so much of philosophy, so much of literature had to be written about it. And this is something, and the mantras also were created. Now, some of the mantras, especially the Rig Veda mantras, are is not created. They say that yogis were in such a state of complete meditation that they could hear the mantras. When they heard the mantras, initially they were verbally giving it out to their disciples. But in Rig Veda, what has happened is it has been written. So these are hymns, these are poetic hymns that has been written about the sounds and words they have heard while in meditation. So that is why it is so potent. And the remaining three Vedas are an explanation of what those hymns are and what it does to you. How does it benefit you? How you need to use those hymns to improve your life. Okay, Sneha. Um, because this information is a little too much to handle, like let's take a small break and let's get into a segment that we would like to have in all our podcasts. It's called the Yogue uh, Mind Bender Quiz. Okay. Are you ready?
What does this entail?
Okay. In this,
Yes,
I'll
I'm
ask
ready.
you a few questions. So whatever we've covered about the origin of yoga, I'll ask you a few questions. Just maybe
Okay.
3 questions I'll ask you, so that, and you can answer and see whether, and even I would request our listeners also to answer them in the comment section, so that we know that you guys are following. If you have any more questions regarding that, you can also comment on that. If you It will be helpful for us also to answer it in the next podcast. So let's start.
Okay. Okay, great.
Okay.
So yeah, let's start.
Where did yoga originate? Okay, I'll give you 4 options:
Okay.
China, India, Brazil, Greece.
Okay, so I'm going to pick India.
Great, wonderful. The
That was an easy question.
the second question is, what is the approximate age of yoga?
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you
So
options. Let me give you options.
okay.
So it becomes
Okay,
easy
okay,
for you.
okay.
A, 500 years, B, 1,000 years, C, 3,000 years, D, 5,000 years.
Mm. So is the answer 5,000 years?
Yes, that's right. You're
Okay,
listening, so
perfect.
yeah, good.
Yeah, no. I got confused, because 3000 BC. So yeah.
Great, wonderful. The third question is, how many limbs of yoga outlined in the Yoga Sutras? This was there in the last podcast. Okay, last time I couldn't ask you that. I did
But you
mention it in
mentioned it
this one
today.
also.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yes.
giving you
Yes.
options. Okay, A,
Okay. Okay.
4, B, 6, C, 8, D, 10.
The answer is there are 8 limbs of yoga, and the 2 limbs that we've spoken about so far is non-violence and discipline, right?
Those are not the limbs, but these are part of the
Okay.
part of the concept of the first. It's yama and niyama, but that I'll talk about it in the next podcast. Okay, so your answer is 8. 8.
8 limbs. Okay, yes. So I hope all our listeners have also uh, followed along the quiz. I can't be answering these questions by myself. So please comment and let us know how many you got right. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Yoga, Body and Mind podcast. If you like what you've just heard, please visit us on our website www.getyogue.com and follow us on all our social media platforms for more content just like this. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment any questions that you might have for us. Also, don't forget to turn on the bell icon so you never miss any of our future episodes. Thank you once again and see you next Wednesday.